Good morning, Yasha Allah, and good morning, world. This is, I think it's the 2nd of February. I think that's what it is. And we're coming to you today in the name of our priest, our high priest indeed, and king, our Malach, Yahushai. And some of us say Yahusha, some of us say, Yeshua. Indeed, we're speaking of the king of Yasha Allah, of the 12 tribes. And we invite the entire population of the globe to attend this this worship we're having. It's a form of worship unto our high priest and our king, under the orders of the Most High. You know, of course, that we are still under the orders of the book of Revelation that speaks for itself as the revelation of Hamashiach. You know, the world had the title of the owner of the book wrong for a long time. And it is our pleasant duty as of the 12 tribes of Yasha Allah to bring the correction. Indeed. So it is in the name of our high priest and Malach, King Yahushai, to whom we speak in obedient reverence. All right, so the title of our discourse this evening is concerning Mizraim, the Ptolemies and Mizraim, and the monad. Ptolemy, Mizraim, and the monad. Recently, I think, and within a 2-month span, maybe a little more, I was viewing a presentation on Mizraim and the 12 tribes, because of the dispute that was going on for an extended period of time, long time indeed, where there was the question of whether or not the 12 tribes were in Mizraim, or Egypt commonly called. And so our own brethren of the 12 tribes, we haven't been dislocated from each other and scattered. We were in turmoil concerning our heritage and our national, our national treasures, for instance, our name. And it's been a long debacle going on throughout the earth, whether or not the 12 tribes ever existed. There was a long battle going on. And so some of our brethren who who were steeped in the philosophies and wisdom of Mizraim, commonly called Egypt. They were in the Egyptology frame of reference in their discussions and their worldview. All right. Recently, then, within 2 months, I believe it is, there was a discussion going on with these same brethren, as I have been making mention of, and the well-known brother Reggie, he and Zion Lex were having a discussion, and the discussion had to do with the question of whether or not the 12 tribes were in Mizraim or Egypt. A long time debacle going on. And so Zion Lex, our brother, being invited, I think, by Sinetta TV to do a presentation on his theory or his findings for the enrichment of knowledge for our people and the world. And so in the presentation on Sinetta TV, it was Zion Lex and Brother Reggie going in on the knowledge. And what was the catch in this presentation for me was that as they were making exchange on their views from one brother to the other, Brother Reggie and Zion Lex, as Zion Lex was going in on his knowledge of the presentation concerning whether or not 12 tribes were in Mizraim. And while Zion was making his presentation and proving his point, without a doubt, apparently he came across some sarcophagi. And so first of all, a sarcophagus did a kind of drop down thing, like the top of the sarcophagus opened, and he appeared to be startled by it. It seemed he was not aware that the area where he was had this or those sarcophagi, and that was like eye-opening for me as I was watching the presentation. And he seemed startled by the fact that this sarcophagi or sarcophagus opened, and there appeared to be more than one open of these sarcophagus. And so I think he sort of sprang back from going forward to the place where he was exploring, and that was eye-opening for me. And I was very curious about what I was seeing, that the opening of this sarcophagi showed Edomite faces. And I don't think he will forget it, because these the Mizraim, the Mizraim, were big, huge people. And in the revealing of these sarcophagi, there were white men, white pharaohs, if you will. That's how they were thought of. according to Brother Zion Lex, and I believe Dr. Reggie as well, I certainly was in a little bit of a quandary, wondering what I was looking at, what I was seeing, and I have finally come to a conclusion of what it was that I was seeing indeed. And I believe what I was seeing was the remains of Alexander's men. Whether the exact viewing was of the Ptolemies themselves, the rulers that Alexander sent into Mizraim to do their their look around in Mizraim, and it has become evident to me that when these men, these Edomites, Alexander's men, were in Mizraim, so that's like roughly what 2,000 years ago, roughly, something like that. Anyhow, you can find the timeline of the Ptolemies' entrance into Mizraim and what they were doing. Well, it was not explicitly stated in the general historical narrative. I don't think it was explicitly stated what they were there for, other than we find out that they were there to increase their knowledge. Matter of fact, in the secret doctrine of Helena Blavatsky, many mentions are made of many searches into Mizraim, into Egypt, as it's commonly called, for the purpose of education. And so I have to assume that what I was seeing when Brother Zion Lex and Brother Reggie were made their discovery in Mizraim, and in the I think it was a museum that they were in, and with my thoughts leading me to believe that I was seeing the leaders of Alexander's leaders, that went into Mizraim to learn the knowledge to get knowledge, to be taught of Mizraim. And I have to apprise myself of the thinking that in their learning experience in Mizraim, they, in fact, learned. Indeed, they went there to learn of the enslavement of the 12 tribes in Mizraim some years before, in the time of Ramses. You know the name Ramses? And the enslavement of the 12 tribes in Mizraim for that period of time that they were there. No, it wasn't 400 years. No, the 400 years experience was dealing with the transatlantic slave trade. That's what it was about, definitely. And in any case, our brethren, our forefathers, with our brother Joseph, who was what we call him, vicegerent in Mizraim, next to the Pharaoh himself, who received the command from the Most High, or the vision that showed him how to deliver Mizraim from starvation and save them. To add to Brother Reggie's and Zion Lex's conversation and the discovery that Zion Lex was putting forward to Brother Reggie to clear away all their doubts concerning the 12 tribes and Mizraim. And so my conclusion of what I was saying is that these were if not some of the Ptolemies, some of the leading men of Alexander, in any case, who apparently became rulers in Mizraim. You know, when they went to Mizraim, they joined the party. And so they spent time exchanging knowledge, I am sure, and indeed to learn the protocols of slavery. So, I mean, think of it with me. These were high caliber individuals, leading men in the arena of statesmanship. And so we get to see, I got to see from Zion Lex and Brother Reggie's presentation what was hidden knowledge for me. And because of my own studies prior to what I was shown in the presentation that night, I was able to put it together. If not perfectly, I think you understand what I'm saying. I saw these Edomites. I had to conclude that they were Edomites. I saw we normally call them white men or white people. And when I saw it, I'm in my place and looking through the computer, and we all got startled. The men who were in the museum, Brother Reggie and Zion Lex, they were startled. That's how it appears to me. And I was startled to see these white men. And then I had to conclude that they must have been of the Ptolemy area, that period, when Alexander's men went in to learn from Mizraim and to learn the protocols of the enslavement process that Mizraim put the 12 tribes through. It was a rewarding experience for me that Brother Zion Lex and Brother Reggie had. And so I had questions answered. I answered them myself from my own knowledge, and experience about my heritage. And I'm thankful for that. Today we're talking about the Ptolemies, of course, and now we started off with the viewing in the museum that now introduces you to what I have found out, or what I think I have found out, concerning Alexander's excursions into Mizraim that finally led into our 400 years slavery situation. I imagine that during their visit, the visit of the Ptolemy, as they were learning knowledge from Mizraim, again, I mentioned Helena Blavatsky's Secret Doctrine. And she had some books called Isis Unveiled, which shows to me that Esau was getting a lot of knowledge from Mizraim, from the Egyptians. And of course, that knowledge that they were getting included knowledge of the Exodus. I am certain they were getting knowledge of the Exodus and learning of the power of the 12 tribes, the Most High Yahweh. They were learning because, in fact, they were a part of the Abrahamic situation where Abraham, as the father of Yitzchak, that is Isaac, and Jacob, and Esau. You remember the story of Esau and Jacob, or Esau and Jacob? So the Ptolemies were there in Mizraim, and I suspect asking a lot of questions about the original Exodus and showing their contempt for the Most High, who had already or previously offered birthright to the father of the Ptolemies, Esau. And so I imagine there was a lively discourse between these men, sharing knowledge and generally sharing women. But they were getting a first-hand knowledge from Mizraim, from the Mizraim, concerning the original Exodus. They were learning about the power of the Most High firsthand from the Mizrahites, who were children of those who experienced the showdown between Moshe and Pharaoh. And to think of it, that after all their learning and knowledge gained in Mizraim from their period of visits with the Ptolemies, that Esau was emboldened to kick off the transatlantic slave trade. So we talk about the Ptolemies, and we talk about Mizraim, and we mentioned the monad in our introduction. All right, let me kind of belatedly give you our scripture reading. Comes from the book of Philippians chapter 2, Philippians chapter 2 and verse 5. Philippians chapter 5, chapter 2, verse 5. And we'll add verse 6 in with it. It says, let this mind be in you, which was also in Hamashiach. I guess we could stop right there. But let's take another verse and add to it. Who being in the form of Elohim, thought it not robbery to be equal with Elohim. One more verse. But made himself of no reputation, and took upon him the form of a servant, and was made in the likeness of man. So it's a lesson. We're learning a lesson on the Mashiach, our high priest, and our deliverer, our savior, who before he came in the flesh assisted Moshe in the Exodus out of Mizraim many years before. And I'm sure that Alexander's generals and the entourage with them weren't arrested, of knowing as much as they could learn about the former Exodus from Mizraim. And having been taught of the explosion of power that freed our forefathers from Mizraim and from the torturous Pharaoh that knew not Yosef, yet they took it upon themselves to come back home after all their partying in Mizraim and sharing women and knowledge, philosophies and science, and Mizraim had some knowledge to share, and Alexander and his men got it. We look at the subject of the monad. I hope I got it right. If I missed anything, I'll have to come back and give it to you, brethren. Give me a minute, please, family. Oh. We're looking at the monad now as we move into share some more insight of Anuk. And what I want to say right here is we are going to quickly dispense with the title, the book of Enoch, because we know that it is the signature of Edomite takeover style. They get our works. and place their name on them. That's what they have done. And of course, much confusion in the earth. And it is our duty under the Mashiach to bring correction for the sake of the whole earth. And in that light, then we look at the monad. What about the monad? When I was in school in the Abu Coast, that's where I was born, as a captive slave. I was born in the Abu Coast, and in school, as my years grew, of course, the knowledge was expanding, and but I was one under the captivity of the Haitian voodoo, Levi. It came to be that right after Queen Elizabeth of England, the Queen Elizabeth that lives today, after her coronation, I think she was in 1952, the following year was my birth. And Esau and Levi together, servants of Satan, by voodoo, came into my home life in Moss Island, Abaco, and set me up to serve the Queen of England. That was my captivity in the 400 years enslavement, like it was in in Babylon. All right, we had a 70-year captivity in Babylon, and we had a similar 70-year captivity in this Babylon. We are in Babylon still now, but in the ancient Babylon, there was a 70-year captivity. That this captivity that we are in, as a portion of the 400 years that was allotted to Levi to be under his command and his control with Esau. The tail end of Levi's reign cut out the 70 years that they may have Benjamin or Benjamin under their control to give payback for what happened with King Shaul in the old days. And so I became the voodoo captive to serve the Queen of England and her family. And this is from 1953. I was in captivity under the Queen, serving the monarchy of England for approximately 70 years. Now the Mashiach freed me within a couple of years ago. All those years of my life was in oppression and cruel bondage with the Haitian voodoo unto the monarchy of England. Indeed so. And out of that, what Levi did to me, what Edom had him do to me, after those years of service, Levi destroyed me with sickness, as he did the whole Caribbean, as he was doing to the whole Caribbean. I shared this with you a little bit. Levi had the whole Caribbean of Benjamin, and of course the others that were elsewhere, I think in the South Americas. Levi had everybody under the stress of serious illness. And me, in service to the Queen of England, I was afflicted with heart problem. And out of having the heart problem, I was finally offered to the Edomite experiment. Like, you remember the book, Medical Apartheid? You read that book by the sister in America, discussing how Edomite were taking our people and running all sorts of experiments on them. Murderous experiments, painful, destructive experiments. And so my situation was likewise. Under Levi, directly, I would have to think, I would think that my situation was similar to what is described in the book, Medical Apartheid, that the sister was discussing on the health problems of the Americas, and with particular emphasis on North America. And so, in my experience and service to the Queen, as a zombie, I guess, they finally had broken my health down so badly that I was committed to Mercy Hospital under James R. Jude, I believe, was the surgeon, or the surgeon, I don't know if to say the Surgeon General, but the one in charge of my surgery. They gave me 2 heart surgeries. First, they put a pig valve in my heart, and next, they put a mechanical valve in my heart that is still there until now. I guess I have to have it removed. But in any case, that's the gist of my suffering in the enslavement, the 400 years enslavement, biblical narrative. It ain't no joke. No joke at all. Some serious stuff. What the sister described in the Medical Apartheid work that she did. Great work. And so, as I talk about the monad, getting ready to give some more insight on the last day message, as Anuk describes it, as he introduces it, we're showing you a small comprehensive view of Edom's reign, what he has done, what his accomplishments have been in his reign. And when we talk about the monad, in school, in the Abacos, in Abaco indeed, in a little village called Lake City, that was right next to the sugar mill that came to be in Abaco under Owens, Illinois, Edomite. In school, I came to the point of graded achievement, where I began to learn some of the higher branch of knowledge. I had a love for education But of course, the pressure of the voodoo experiment and enslavement unto the queen damaged me so that I did not excel in that area. In any case, I remember learning of this matter, this symbol that we were dealing with. I think in whether it was in algebra itself, or I forget exactly how it was. But as our learning process was being elevated, we came into the discussion of this symbol called pi. You remember pi? And the subject of pi was somewhat distressing to me. I thought I understood it, and then didn't understand it, and thought again I understand it a little bit, and to say the least, I experienced some confusion with it. It bothered me, and today, now I understand who pi was, having all that voodoo experience on me, and the enslavement under Esau. I come to understand who pi was. And pi, many of us know of already, is accredited to the Egyptian or Mizraim, what do you call it, cosmogony, where they use the monad, this creation called the monad. I was thinking to put a picture of it up, and I kind of slipped my mind. But the monad is a circular thing that many of you have seen already. And when you look in the works of Mizraim, you will see the round, like a disc, and a dot in the middle of that disc. It is called the monad. And it was the philosophical leader of discussion on science. What I have come to find out, that it was, I can call it a magical philosophical expression of creation as Mizraim saw it. And I further understand that it goes all the way back to Nubia, and those nations way back there. I would guess that Enki and the lot of the Anunnaki would have been, or might have been, responsible for the creation of this monad that was the leader of scientific study as an explanation for how the creation was set up. And I guess it was the leader in the evolutionary discussions of things, science and creation. So I have come now to understand that this was a magical tool that was being discussed with us as young people from the age of about 9, 10 years old up, being prepared to do Cambridge exams from England and so forth. But here we were learning about pi. And I find out for a fact that pi was this magical symbol that was leading the study in mathematics. And now I understand the difficulty I had with it in those days. You see. And so I shared with you that maybe there would be others who, like I was, did not understand, had difficulty, unraveling pi. But now knowing that it was a magical figure guiding the mind and the thinking process towards an understanding of creation. And I think it was causing havoc in the midst of the school population. I think that's what was going on with it. In any case, we know where evolution get its root from the same pi. They call it today, or have been calling it, the Egyptian monad. What Alexander's men, Alexander himself, no doubt, and the Ptolemies were using as scientific tool in their relations with Mizraim, with Egypt. Maybe next time I will draw the figure. But if you're looking in the what they call the Egyptian Book of the Dead, Egyptian knowledge, you will see the pi, the round circular disc with a small dot in the middle, in the center of it. That was pi. Magical. All right, we move to Anuk. And I think a short time ago, yesterday or the day before, I was sharing with you how Anuk I was on page 24 and discussing I was indeed discussing end time situations. I kind of lost my way here. But I'll speak to you generally on the subject until I find my notes correctly and retrench myself. We find Anuk speaking to the people of his day. And remember, from the book of Ibrahim or Hebrews, we learn that Anuk was 7 steps from Adam. The book says he was the 7th from Adam. When we look at the timeline of those men of old who lived for so long, Anuk was the 7th from Adam. But his work was done to accommodate us of the last days, the last generation. I think he calls it in part of his introduction. And generally in it, we see his discussion of um, views on many things, the weather, star formations, I think it is, and um, general science or in-depth science, uh, the um, the movement of the stars, and you know a lot of knowledge, science, and so I've made up my mind to dedicate myself to the study of the book and encourage you, Yasha Allah, in the diaspora to do the same. Let's get into the book and get into the knowledge of it. I mean, the setting up of the set apart days and different times for set apart celebrations. I believe Anuk goes into all those areas that we need to brush up on and get a firm foundation of knowledge concerning. And therefore, since I'm a little out of my range, because I lost my notes kind of, I will leave the matter right here and encourage you to take the book. I have a copy here, but I'm a little disoriented from where I should be. But I'm encouraging you, because I have already begun to see the depth of the book of Anuk for us in these last days. But to further the argument a little bit more, since we're here, wouldn't you find it strange that after having endured 400 years of brutal enslavement, would you find it rather disconcerting that the leader, in this case is Gadriel, Satan, of the protocols of enslavement of the 12 tribes, and those who were under him, Edom, with Levi. How, what would be what is your thinking on the fact that they would find it necessary to come to us and ask us to pray for them, as Satan, Gadriel, posed the question to me that I should pray for them? For what reason? And to accomplish what? This is part of the situation that Anuk had to deal with in his day. The watchers, as he says in his book, wanted him to pray for them after they had destroyed the old world. And it was still standing. And that brood of people, from the Tower of Babel and Nimrod and all of them, they were still normal human beings, normal as could be, because they were all under the rule of Satan, very direct, and whereby we get, as I was sharing with you about the monad, all these come from satanic revelations and the fallen ones. And but here you have it, Satan, Gadriel, and Edom have literally destroyed us in 400 years of enslavement. It was their intent, indeed, to literally have us destroyed. And you know the story of, as we were discussing about medical apartheid. You've seen the documentation of illnesses discussed, shown, illnesses and medical hurt that was done to the 12 tribes, or with particular emphasis on the house of Yahweh, the house of Judah, in North America, principally. Well, one of the principal mentions, North America, but also the Caribbean. Edom was rampant, doing experiments on our people. Well, let me leave it the comment in that same order. There was a lot of foolish experiments and daring experiments going on with our people. How Edom was butchering them, causing them so much distress, tearing their bodies apart for his experiments. And now he comes at this point in time when his reign is coming to an end. He seems to think that he has done enough damage that he can hold us in check as he would like, and to dare to command us to show mercy to him and his people. He's commanding us unto whom the reins of government has been turned over to under our king, our high priest, Mashiach. Edom is putting the question to us. No, he's daring us that we should do like what was asked of Anuk, to pray for our destroyers. Pray that they be saved and filled with what spirit to fill them? What spirit filled them when they were destroying us? I think they need to get some more. That's that same spirit. And so you see the importance of the book of Anuk, to express to us the mind of Gadriel, Satan himself, and his hierarchy of Malachims, and what they have communicated, or what they are communicating to the Edomites, to come and, as it were, take us by force and say, you do something for my people, get them in the kingdom. That's my honor, to get them in the kingdom. I encourage you, brethren, to let's pay some more attention to the book of Anuk and see what's in there for us. See the diabolical plan of Satan with Edom concerning us, after having destroyed us for 400 years. And to see that our kingdom is coming, they want to come. And because of the little strength that we have, that the Most High has kept in us, they want to come to take authority over that little strength we have, and to command us to plead to the Most High on their behalf, and to block our way from going where we are going. That's the gist of one of the main feature in the book of Anuk, that this is what the Edomites have in their mind concerning us. We read a verse in Jeremiah where they say, "Oh, my power, in the day of of my distress, the Gentiles shall come unto thee and plead." They come and plead to us whom they have destroyed so badly. Now they're coming for us. What's Was it Benny King? I think it was Ben E. King. I said, I who have nothing. I believe it was Ben E. King. Anyway, you know the song. I who have nothing. They come to us who literally have nothing. But we have the manifestation of the kingdom within us. And now they come to ask us to plead to the Most High for them. And they want to command us to do it. They have authority to command us to do it. And we should listen and hear them. This is what the book of Anuk is telling us about our captors today. That's their mindset, that we should plead for them to be in the kingdom. Where will we be? Because they are devils. The kingdom will have no rest with them. So I will end the commentary right there until I get my bearing on the presentation for the sake of the brethren. Until next time, may the Most High bless, keep you, Yasha Allah, cause his face to shine upon you, and give you his shalom in the Ruach, to the praise of Abanawa and the Mashiach. So let it be.